I would be remiss if I didn't address the elephant in the room. And no, the elephant is not Gunner right here. But yes, welcome in. This is Gunner. Rowdy is right here too. This is my dog Rowdy. Say hey, Rowdy. So yeah, we got the dogs up in here. In my opinion, they're better. Gamecocks are better. I don't have a Gamecock. I got a Golden Doodle. So I mean, hey, that starts with a G. So that's something close to you. But regardless, guys, we are live. This is South Carolina Live here at the Voice of College Football. I'm your host, as always, Lucas Hill. Let me put Gunner down before he gets himself into trouble. All right, bye-bye, Gunner. Had to get the dogs in on a little appearance, guys. But I would be remiss if I didn't address the elephant in the room. And no, it wasn't the dog. We'll discuss all that when we get to around the SEC. But I would be absolutely stupid if I did not address what happened all around the SEC. This offseason has been unlike any other offseason that we have seen in quite some time. It really has. And the fact of the matter is that this is an offseason that I don't think anyone was predicting to have happen. This is an offseason that many people were not expecting as well. But I think that this is one, if you are college football, you needed it. This is actually fun that we get to witness something like this. This is something that you've wanted to see for quite some time. We started off crazy. We're probably going to end off crazy. It started with a quarterback from the SEC. It's starting to end with a quarterback from the SEC. Coincidence? I think so. But again, guys, regardless, we are live. This is South Carolina Live, number 17. I thought it was like 15 or something like that, but I guess it's whatever. I guess we're counting whatever happens before. Thank you guys for tuning on in. This is, once again, South Carolina Live here at the Voice of College Football. I am your host, as always, Lucas Hill. I want to thank every single one of you guys for tuning on in to South Carolina Live at the Voice of College Football. Do us a favor. Before we continue on any further, hit the like, share, and subscribe button. Make sure you turn on that bell notification so that you are notified every time we post a new video here on South Carolina Live at the Voice of College Football. Make sure you tune in to our good friends on YouTube, whether you're tuned in on X, whatever it is. Guys, we thank you for making South Carolina Live your first listen every day, any day. Let's talk a lot about what to expect from this offseason. And we've had a lot that occurred throughout this offseason. So you have a lot that you're about to expect over the next couple of weeks as we continue on. First of all, let's talk about what's going on around the Carolina area, because we obviously have a lot to discuss in that regard. We did talk about what's going on around the recruiting trail. We got a lot to discuss whenever it comes to the inside track on Darius Gray, the commitment that will be scheduled not this Friday, but next Friday. I am excited for that one. I just love it when my freaking ice is so chewy. But if you guys didn't check what happened this past week on SEC Live at the Voice of College Football, and if you are tuned into it, of course, we had a lot to discuss with Phil Steele over at SEC Live at the Voice of College Football, and we had a lot of fun discussing it. We really, really did. I thought it was a really fun conversation that me and Phil had. We got to learn a lot about what to expect from South Carolina and many more teams around the SEC from the voice of around college football. But I did want to discuss that really fast before we continue it on. So Phil came on and discussed what he expected for South Carolina to be at, because he had them tied for 10th in the SEC at the end of the year. So I think that's worth noting. He's he has a lot of question marks whenever it comes to what he expects from South Carolina. And I asked him that as well. And so I think it's really noteworthy that we talk about that specifically, because I thought he had a lot of strong opinions on him. By the way, one of the big factors on what is going to determine South Carolina season, everybody knows it, it's going to be Lenore Sellers. And Phil was very high on it in our conversation. He called him Superman. And I think he's very much so right. And we discussed it on, actually, I don't even know if we've discussed it with me and you. You and I have not discussed this yet. So that's definitely something that we have to get talked about. But I think it was noteworthy what he talked about whenever it came to South Carolina at the end of the day. I thought it was really noteworthy. So this is what he had to say about the Gamecocks going forward. But because I'm trying to look for the video too. All right, here we go. I got it.
Our sellers. Uh, I think the SEC is the deepest conference because of that. If I've got South Carolina 10th, I've got Minnesota 10th in the Big Ten. I'll take South Carolina over Minnesota. I think the SEC is a deeper conference. But let's dive into South Carolina. Last year they were coming off a 5-7 season, and I had them higher than everybody else. I was a big South Carolina fan all year. In fact, people ask me every year. They say, "Phil, who's your favorite team?" I go, "Oh, I have one." They're like, "Who?" And I'm like, it's a team I pick higher than everybody else. So I was a South Carolina fan last year. I was wearing South Carolina shirts to work and very happy with their season. In fact, I thought they should have been in the playoffs. Lenora Sellers, phenomenal QB. They've got Oscar Attaway and Faison. Hopefully Faison's there. He just got cleared for practice. That's a big plus. But I am concerned with the defensive front seven. I thought last year they had maybe one of the most dominant defensive front sevens in college football. And they lose the bulk of that. Now, yes, they have got Dylan Stewart back, but
how many times have I come out here on this show and discussed the front seven? A lot. Need to pay attention to it.
Dylan Stewart was Dylan Stewart because teams had to concentrate on all the other players they had up front. I think they're going to be weaker there, but the schedule is really the thing that bothers me. They play the fourth toughest schedule in the country. You look at road games at Missouri, at LSU, at Ole Miss, at Texas A&M. Let's face it, they're going to be an underdog in all four of those games. Yes. Then they host Clemson, which I have one of the top teams in the country. They host Alabama, one of the top teams in the country. They host Oklahoma, my number one surprise team. And, oh, by the way, they play Virginia Tech at a neutral site. So that is an absolutely brutal schedule. They do have Superman. If he stays healthy, look out. They should have beaten LSU last year. They got robbed in that game, especially that penalty call at the end of the game. But I think South Carolina probably takes a step back this year due to a weaker defensive front seven. Last year's was at the very top. This year's is going to be good, but not at the very top. And then the schedule is just something that I think it's going to be tough to navigate.
So that's what Phil had to say. He said he's going to take a step back. Do I agree with him? Part of me doesn't, because I understand where he's coming from. I understand that South Carolina has to replace a lot. And I've said it already. We have discussed this heavily. If you are a regular listener to this show, and if you are a regular wherever you listen to this, by the way, you know that we have been very, very, very heavy oriented on where I think the biggest struggle is going to be for South Carolina. It was that front seven. Phil and I agree on that. What I think is going to happen, though, is that this is still going to be a very good front seven. The linebacking core, we mentioned this last week whenever we had JB on. It's going to be a weakness. And you know that. Everybody in here that is tuned in right now knows that the biggest weakness so far in South Carolina's roster, on the defensive side, it's the linebacking core. On the offensive side, it's the offensive line. So, do I think it's going to take a step up from where they were last year? Yes, I do. Do I think that it's going to be anything special like it was last year? No. Do I think you'll still have production? Absolutely. Abso-freaking-lutely. No question in my mind it will. But I think there's going to be a lot of names that go under the radar. And everybody's going to be focused on Dylan Stewart off the edge. And I'm not sitting here and hating on Dylan Stewart, but I'm telling you, you've gotten more production through the portal and from last year. One of my breakout stars this year is Brian Thomas Jr. I have been very high on Brian BTJ because of what he brings off the outside edge. Like the type of poise that I have seen from him in recent weeks. He's shown out throughout practice. He's shown out throughout fall camp. He's been an unheralded leader. And I think that's going to speak volumes at the end of the day whenever it comes to where South Carolina is at for where this program can be in the future. I'm very high on them. I really, really think that they can be really excited. So, I don't know, man. I agree with Phil on a vast majority of them. Do I think they're going to take a step back? Not really. I think it's a favorable schedule. I think the first 5 games are going to determine what South Carolina is going to be. And I think you have a lot that you can rely on at the end of the day. No question in my mind about that. So, really excited to see it. Really excited to dive into this with you all. I'm really, really intrigued just to see with what all has happened over the last several weeks of South Carolina prepping for this Virginia Tech game. I'm really excited to dive into more of what Phil had to say about SC. But for now, we got to take a break. I'm going to knock out a quick break real fast. We'll be back in just a minute.
You can make a difference here at the Voice of College Football. Use the Amazon link. Financially contribute to the Voice of College Football without spending a penny. Same shopping experience. It's easy. Go to any video on any channel. Go to the description section and grab the link right next to the capital letters that say Amazon. Use that link, and Amazon will instantaneously convert to your account, settings, history, everything intact, just like whatever link you use right now. No difference. Pay no attention to the product that you see right there. Just go search what you want. Don't forget the Amazon link. Thank you for your support. Sincerely, the Voice of College Football. College football is even more exciting when you've got some action on the line, and the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the Voice of College Football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread, and I've got a 40-plus year track record. 11-0 in the college football playoff for me last year against the money line, 8-3 against the spread. And I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill of Wager Talk is our ace in the hole, show stopper. 7 years with the Voice of College Football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick. 28-12 against the spread the last 3 years. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Corey Bratta, Matt Zemek, and Steve Dace. Check out those numbers. Become a YouTube or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and then select a betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2025 a winner now.
Yeah, go make some money. 40 plus years in the business, that just tells you Mark's stage. I kid, Mark. Love you, brother. Let's continue on with our discussion. But like I mentioned, guys, Phil has been very high on South Carolina. He's not the only one that's high on South Carolina. Josh Pate has been very high on South Carolina this year. So I do want to discuss what he had to say about South Carolina, because I think it's worth noting what he had to say, because he went on with Chad Withrow over on Hot Mic. We've had Chad Withrow on our show a couple times before as well. So I think it's really impressive, seeing what this program, seeing what South Carolina is building right now. And this is what he had to say. You slander Gamecock football with me in the room, and I'm coming for the throat every freaking time. So this is what happened. He was on Hot Mic with, like I said, again, Chad Withrow. I forget the other guy's name. Chad's been on the show before, been on my show before, whenever I was doing audio podcasts. He's a good guy. I love talking with him.
Sandstorm. When you tell me that one of your best and biggest rituals as a college football program is a Dutch techno song that came out in 2000 that became popular for you in 2009, I'm thinking to myself,
why is Josh?
You need better traditions if that's the case. It looks cool, Josh. It sounds great. It gets the fans on their feet.
Oh, shoot.
It gets them going. I can't buy into that. That is the thing that bothers me. Much like Kroger Field to Kentucky, Sandstorm to South Carolina encapsulates that program.
Darude. Let me gather myself. We're live. I don't want to say anything that I'll regret, or we'll get us thrown off the air. Listen, I don't care how it started. I don't care where it started. South Carolina owns that song now. So wherever it came from, whatever the country of origin is, Sandstorm is rooted now in Columbia, South Carolina at Williams-Brice Stadium. And here's what I appreciate about them. I'm going to speak for Gamecock Nation now. I'm going to hop on the cockaboose. It's not even Cocktober. And I want to tell you, we don't care what you think about our pregame rituals. We don't care what you think about our songs. We don't care what you think about our in-stadium environment. I guarantee you can't hear in here on third down, though. I guarantee you that. Even if they put us at noon, I guarantee you can't hear in here. South Carolina is the most underrated home field environment in all of college football. And there is nothing that the young men on either side of me in this 3-box setup on my Zoom screen could tell me to convince me otherwise. The end.
There's nothing.
Wow. Hey, I mean, Josh. He ain't wrong. Bro, he went for the jugular with that one. Not the best take, not my favorite take of what Mahler had to say, or not Mahler, of what Withrow had to say about the group, but hey, I respect the hell out of it, man. I really do. Absolutely respect the hell out of what he had to say. But I think it is noteworthy that they do say that, because it's very important that he did mention something like that. Because when you talk about the environment at Willie B, I would love to go experience that, by the way. If any of you are out there in the chat, if y'all can do me a solid, can y'all give me like a ticket or a pass so that I can get to Willie B? A ticket to go to South Carolina. Look, if I can get some sponsorships that can fly me out to Columbia, get me a hotel, get me all my stuff for free so that I don't have to pay for anything, I'll walk, or I'll pay for the freaking Uber. I mean, I would love to go out to Columbia and experience that, bro. But yes, I completely agree with JP. There is no other tradition that is unlike what South Carolina brings. Absolutely, bar none. And you can disagree. You can say that there's other traditions that are out there that are better. Sure. I can name a few. But knowing that that one song, that Sandstorm, is so iconic within South Carolina. It's hard to match a song that has that much value to a program like South Carolina, that has that much meaning to a program like South Carolina. Find one song that you can say the same thing for a program like SC. LSU has Neck, and they have their fight song. Alabama has Dixieland Delight. South Carolina has Sandstorm. It doesn't have to be local. God dog, it was a freaking European party song. But it meant so much to South Carolina. All this started in 2009 when it first became popular after that Ole Miss game in 2009. Name a better tradition. JP said it best. You're going right for the jugular if you try to disgrace that. But staying on the topic of Josh Pate, he released his JP poll out today, and he has South Carolina 17th in the week 1 poll, the top 20. SMU coming in at 20, 19th Kansas State, 18th Tennessee, South Carolina at 17. Michigan at 16, USC at 15, Ole Miss at 14. Okay, this is getting ridiculous. 13, Texas A&M. You have LSU at 12, Miami at 11, Oklahoma at 10, Florida at 9, Clemson at 8, Oregon at 7, Notre Dame at 6, Bama 5th, Penn State at 4, Georgia at 3, Ohio State 2, and then Texas rounding out at this as the number 1 team in the country. Oh my goodness. I mean, this is just ridiculous. It's just in my opinion, bro. If you want me to give you my honest opinion when it comes to this poll, I don't even know why Texas A&M is even in this one. Why is Texas A&M even in the top 20 in the AP poll? How does that make any sense? Why is USC in the top 25 or in the top 20? Why is Florida and Oklahoma above LSU? I really do want to see what requirements are in the JP poll, but 17? 17. Oh, buddy. JP, I love the content. I wish you could come on here, man. I've been trying to get you for over a year. Come on the show, please. But I think regardless of this, I don't agree. I think you got to have South Carolina in that 15. Why is USC in there? I have no clue. I'm not saying that USC is a bad program, nor am I saying that they don't deserve to be in the top 25. You just haven't proven it on the field. And this is do or die for Lincoln Riley, too. Why the hell are we putting a guy like SC in the top 15 in a poll like this? Now, I know it's not going to matter, but I think it should be noteworthy that you have a program like SC, which is basically in the dirt at this point, that is another 7-5 or a 6-6 season away from getting rid of Lincoln Riley. That I really do think that you need to start taking into consideration what the future of SC is going to look like. Who the real South Carolina is who the real USC is at the end of the day. I think you all know who that is, but you don't need me to answer this question. Pretty plain and simple, in my opinion. But what do I know? I'm not going to sit here and hate on Josh Pate. I don't agree with his ranking list at all. I think a lot needs to change. Top 10 is pretty off. Top 8 is fine, in my opinion. Top 10 is complete. Everything from 9 through 20, scrap it. SMU, why are they in the top 20? SMU is so overrated because they got Kevin Jennings back. Who do you have at the receiver position? You don't have Brashard Perriman anymore. Or what's that running back's name? Anyways, your defense is going to take a step back. It is. But I think regardless of that, guys, South Carolina is better than about 3 or 4 teams that are ahead of them right now. I think they're much better than Oklahoma right now. I think they're much better than where Florida is at the current moment because they can stay healthy. And I think they're much better than USC. Much better than USC. But that's just my opinion. Does my opinion matter at the end of the day? No, it doesn't. I got bashed by the national media whenever I put in my SEC coaches rankings. I get bashed like this every freaking weekend. Does it stop me from putting out my takes and my opinions? No. It shouldn't. And it won't. But regardless of that, guys, look, the Josh Pate thing is just like, is it going to matter at the end of the day? No, it's not a national media poll. When we get to opening weekend, which is about 2 weekends from now, so we're about 2.5 weeks from kickoff. We got high school football tomorrow, by the way, so we'll preview a little bit of that, what to expect from there as well. We'll talk about some more South Carolina commits, which is something we have to discuss. But I think Josh Pate overall, you have South Carolina way too low, bro. 17, got to put them in the top 15. They're a top 15 program, in my opinion. They're going to be a top 15 program at the end of the day. Do I think they're going to have some setbacks? Yes. But I think the early part of this season, once we get to the end of September, we'll know what the expectations are for South Carolina when we go forward. I don't know if they're going to have a run like they did at the end of the season where they go on a 6-game win streak. Absolutely not. I don't think it's going to happen. But I do think that if you can be consistent at the start of the season, your season is going to be defined for where you are at the end of the year, which in turn could also help you get into the college football playoff at the end of the day. That's going to be the big difference between a 7-5 season, which many of the national media expects you to be. I have you easily at 8-4. And between that and between a potential 10-2 season and you celebrating in the college football playoff. Zion Ely has been named a Rivals All-American. These are here's my picks for 2 guys that I think could end up flip to South Carolina once we get to December. So the majority of the top class of 2026 players have committed. But between now and by the time we get to December, when National Signing Day ensues, there's going to be a lot of flips. Let me give you 2 names that I have very, very high sources that are telling me that this could very much so happen. Number 1 is the nation's number 1 overall recruit in Zion L. We discussed him during our very, very first time we took over the South Carolina Live channel. And I told you this, that he has an opportunity to flip from Maryland to South Carolina, which I think very possibly could happen. It's going to, but all of this, by the way, is going to have to go through what you have done so far. Like Jeremiah Dante has done. It's all because of what he's done. It's a business first venture from what South Carolina is doing at this current time. You have to consider at the end of the day what he's been able to do, which I think is going to make a big impact at the end of the day. Zion L is going to end up possibly flipping to either Oregon or it will be South Carolina. Now, people were predicting him to go to Oregon. I don't know if he's willing to travel halfway across the country to go be an Oregon Duck. I don't know if that's going to be the case. You know, he's dominating early on in his career. This is what his coach told about him. He's got a huge upside. He has great knowledge, and a passion for football. He shows great promise as a young player. He's only going to get better and better as he plays more football. There's something special about this kid. Very rare do you see a player of his magnitude out on the field. He is a monster. Zion L, in my opinion, could have an opportunity to flip near the end of November. I think things could change within that Maryland personnel, especially if Mike Locksley ends up getting fired at the end of the day, which I do think could very well happen. You know, what is the buyout though for Mike Locksley at this point in time? Is it going to be too expensive? Well, his contract's it's going to run through 2028. $12 million is a lot of money. Make no mistake about that. But I do think that it's significantly less than what you were going to end up paying initially, especially a couple years ago when you were this close to getting rid of Locksley. And if he didn't have that 2 or 3 year run with Talia Tagovailoa after 2021, he was going to get fired from Maryland. There's no question in my mind that it was going to happen. You have another 4-8 record like you did last year, and if you show no improvement if you're Maryland, you're probably going to end up losing a lot of personnel, just in my opinion. Now, do I think it's going to happen? Azar Abdul-Rahim, we'll see if he ends up staying in South Carolina. By the way, was that Friendship Collegiate Charter Academy, which is not that far from St. Francis Academy out in Maryland. Just saying. Ted Monachino, are they willing? Was the former North Carolina defensive line coach. Ted Monachino hasn't been a college coordinator at all. This is his first time. 2023 was his first time being back in college football since 2018 when he was a senior defensive analyst. So Monachino, at the end of the day for Maryland, is going to play a big role in seeing if you can maintain a guy like Zion L. Mike Locksley is going to make a big difference. Is he going to end up taking a flip? L had a great time over at South Carolina. That was one of his most recent commits. He's been there twice. He's been to Penn State 3 times. He's been to Maryland 5 times. I do expect him to go take one more visit, maybe a game day visit out to Columbia within the next month or two. I don't know if he is still locked in with Maryland. I do think that there's still going to be conversations within the L family and them talking with South Carolina and them talking with Coach T-Rob and with Coach White, talking about what he could potentially bring off the edge, seeing what he's going to be able to do if he's to pair with Dylan Stewart, what he could potentially learn from the defensive line room. I think it'd be a great fit. I do think he could put on another 15 pounds at the end of the day, too, at 6'3.5", 220 pounds, the frame that he is right now. I think if he puts on a little bit more weight, he's going to be ready as on his first day on campus. I think he has an opportunity to end up flipping his commitment there. How about another defensive lineman that could end up flipping from West Forsyth High School? P.J. Dean. Now, we talked about his commitment 2 months ago and how significant that was. It was between Georgia and South Carolina at the end of the day. Could he still flip his commitment? I don't think that one is as likely when it relates to what Zion L could potentially do, because you still have that family factor with his older brother, Isaiah Wilson, who ended up going to Georgia at the end of the day. But never say never at the end of the day, guys. You can never fully lock it in until that paper is signed on December 1st. PJ Dean is still on the table for South Carolina. It's another opportunity to give him another offer and see if he'll sign that dotted line. And if he does that, then you know you have him on the dotted line whenever it comes to the December signing day at the end of the day. Guys, this is a very big deal whenever it comes to where South Carolina is at with their recruiting with these two guys. Two guys that I think could make a huge impact on the defensive line. It's in a room that you have to address, especially after this year. Dylan Stewart's got one more year. What does your future look like? You got a lot of young guys that you still have that could have to take in that leadership role once Stewart is gone after 2026. You don't have that right now. Brian Thomas is gone after this year. You don't have a young guy that can step in and make that role and fill in that role that Thomas and Stewart are going to leave behind on the defensive line. You have to have another guy, and you have to have a young cat that can come into your program and make a difference immediately. That's why I emphasize the point of recruiting the defensive line as much as freaking possible. Because you're going to lose time and time again top guys that I think that are going to make significant impacts at the end of the day. Kelsey Adams, one of the top offensive linemen in the class of 2027, just named South Carolina in the top 10. He is expected to commit sometime near the end of the year. He's 6'5", 260 pounds. He claims to have been 6'6", 295 pounds. Golly, bro. He don't look 295, so we'll just go with 260. Moves with fluidity, moves very quickly off the edge. He can play both sides. I think he can play more of an interior lineman and type. I think, especially with what his size is at right now, and because you have such quick lateral quickness, I don't think it'll fit you best, especially if you're having to defend against a guy like Stewart who can get off the edge in a hurry, who can get out of his stance in a hurry. So we'll see what happens with Kelsey Adams at the end of the day. I think he's going to end up being a Gamecock. I do think that you can add that into your arsenal in the class of 27, and it's something that you have to address at the end of the day if you are South Carolina. I think it's very, very, very important that you address that need. So we'll see at the end of the day what type of athlete that Kelsey Adams can be. Kelsey Adams is a dog, in my opinion, from Langston Hughes High School, initially from College Park in the around that Atlanta area. So he comes up from the mud, man. I mean, make no mistake about that. This cat's a freaking monster. And I think he's going to make a huge, huge impact if you have a program like that, or if you have a game changer that can do some crazy things at the end of the day, man. Absolutely impressive. Really well needed that you can have to be a difference maker for your program. Just my opinion, guys. All right, let's go around your SEC. My freaking throat is hurting for some reason. I don't know why, but let me find this thing. I would be remiss if I did not talk about the John Mateer situation. And to be completely honest with you, guys, we talked about this yesterday on SEC Live. John Mateer, in my opinion, this is so dumb that this is even a thing, that this is even considerable news, that this could potentially be really headline news, in my opinion. This whole gambling situation makes no sense, in my opinion, because we initially talked about how you look at the Venmo transactions, it says sports gambling, sports gambling. Do you really think somebody would intentionally say, hey, I'm sending you money so that you can gamble? Come on, bruh. I mean, either or. It's not, I mean, dude, it's a college football world that at this point in time is being sponsored by FanDuel, by BetMGM, by all these different gambling sites, but a kid can't gamble. Let the kid gamble. Even if he did do it, just let him be. He was 18. This is 2022 we're talking about. If you are this much of a loser to go through Venmo transactions and stalk him when it comes to that, do you have a problem? You have a serious problem, in my opinion. And it just pisses me off so much that this is supposedly headline news. Are we serious? Are we serious? I seriously don't get it, man. Like, it doesn't make sense that this is
Tommy Parner.
That this is actually realistic news. I mean, just my opinion. You can disagree with me if you want, but I'm telling you that something like this is so ridiculous. It is so stupid. The fact that you have a cat like Mateer that was a freshman at the time, and we're considering that, oh, well, he sent money to gamble. How do you know? You have no evidence to prove that. You're looking at Venmo transactions. They could say sports gambling. The cat said, oh, it was an insider joke. Okay, and cool. It was an insider joke. Who gives a crap? In my opinion, guys, there's no reason, no rhyme or reason that we talk about him and we talk about the fact that he could be in the midst of, it's like you act like this cat is in the midst of a gambling scandal. He's not. This whole thing is not even close to such. It's really not. So there's no way that. So here's my thing. You really think that he would say that he would send money for sports gambling? No. This is so stupid. Like I mentioned, are Venmo comments and what you put in your Venmo transactions evidence enough to say that the kid was gambling? No, it's not. It's really not. You have your receipts that you get from the bets that you place on your specific sites, such as FanDuel, such as BetMGM, ESPN Bet does it, Prize Picks does it. They each have receipts. Look it up. Go find the receipts on that one. Come on. You're not going to find that. Just in my opinion, dude. I mean, this is ridiculous that this is actually a thing that we're freaking out about. It's not. Okay. That's one situation. A lot of starting quarterbacks have been named around the SEC. Pretty easy. pretty simple to discuss this. Quarterback competitions have already been over with. A lot that we have to talk about. Ty Simpson is officially the starting quarterback over at Alabama. I saw this one coming. Ryan Grubb said it several weeks ago when he said, if we had a front runner right now, if we were to suit up this week, it would be Ty Simpson. I still think that Keelan Russell is going to be utilized in a variety of different ways. I think that no question about it, with where South Carolina is going to be, or where the SEC is going to be at with your SEC class. Honestly, guys, there's no there should be no real how do we say it? There should be no real controversy whenever it comes to this. I think it's obvious of what was going to happen. Joey Aguilar has been named the starting quarterback for Tennessee. There was an late push from George McIntyre, who many people said, hey, he could be potentially the new starting quarterback at the end of the day. But I think that was basically said and done once he officially started to get his groove on. From what we talked with Eli Huff about during our SEC preview of Missouri, there is still a battle between Bo Pribula and I think Sam Horn as well. So we'll see what happens over at Missouri. My guess is that it's going to be Pribula with the most experience. I think that both are very capable of running the offense. I think that at the end of the day, though, Pribula is the guy that's going to fit best in this Kirby Moore offense at the end of the day. No question about what was going to happen. It was going to be Austin Simmons' program as well. So there's your starting quarterbacks going into the SEC for 2025. I'm excited for this one. I'm excited for the season, guys. Thank you so much once again for tuning on into us here at South Carolina Live at the Voice of College Football. Always, always, always a pleasure to get and talk a lot of ball with you guys. You guys are some of the best fans out there. We appreciate your love. We appreciate your support. Follow me on X at Lucas Hill SEC. Follow the Voice of College Football at THEVOCFB. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you all on Friday for our call-in show. I'll be at work on Thursday. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, become a member. Consider being a member here at South Carolina, the Voice of College Football. 3 different options, $2.99, $4.99, and $9.99 version. Make sure you go ahead and consider being a member here. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, y'all stay blessed. Y'all don't stress. Y'all have a great rest of the week, guys.